Jay-Z has always carried himself like someone caught between myth and man. He's the billionaire rapper who transformed hustling on Brooklyn streets into a global empire. He's the artist who went from the Marcy Projects to becoming one of the most powerful moguls in entertainment. He's the man who married Beyoncé, one half of a power couple that has remained unshaken in the public eye for nearly 20 years. That entire legacy, one of carefully crafted image and ironclad reputation, might now be on the edge of collapse. The reason? A name many people only recently began to hear, Rymir Satterthwaite. For more than a decade, Jay-Z's legal team has tried to silence or dismiss him. But Rymir isn't some random figure chasing attention in hopes of viral headlines. He's someone who has dedicated most of his adult life to proving one thing, that Jay-Z is his biological father. And after years of stalled efforts, rejected petitions, and legal battles, he has now taken his fight into federal court. The story traces back to 1992. According to Rymir, his late mother Wanda had a brief relationship with Jay-Z during that year. At the time, Wanda was just 15, while Jay-Z was around 22. Their involvement didn't last long, but what followed did. Wanda became pregnant, and not long after, she gave birth to Rymir. As a young child, Rymir didn't think much of it. He already had someone who stepped up to raise him. But as the years passed, Wanda kept repeating the same name, insisting that his father was Sean Carter. By the time he was 8 years old, she was openly calling Jay-Z by name. For years, Rymir and his family tried to reach out. His claims have always carried a consistent point. This was never about money. From the beginning, what he wanted was a DNA test, something simple that could either prove or disprove the truth. According to his side of the story, Jay-Z's team initially seemed open to the idea. But that changed once the details of Wanda's age came into focus. The fact that she had been 15 at the time meant that confirming paternity could carry much heavier implications than just child support. It could lead to serious legal and criminal consequences. That's when Jay-Z's camp allegedly shifted gears, refusing to cooperate and distancing themselves from any suggestion of a test. Over the years, Rymir has filed multiple lawsuits. Most recently, he brought one under the Proc Legal Act, a strategic attempt not just to push for paternity, but also to highlight what he says are systemic flaws in the justice system. His accusations go beyond Jay-Z, targeting judges and attorneys whom he claims mishandled evidence, looked the other way, or even engaged in outright fraud. He argues that the legal system itself has been working in Jay-Z's favor, using power and money to keep him shielded from accountability. What makes this different from a typical celebrity scandal is that it's no longer just about Jay-Z being a father. It's about whether a billionaire with influence has been able to manipulate the system for decades to avoid exposure. Through all this, Jay-Z himself has never taken a DNA test. And that fact keeps raising questions. If the accusations were false, the quickest way to silence them would be to agree to the test and put the matter to rest. But his refusal has fueled suspicion. To Rymir and his supporters, it looks like silence rooted in fear, not fear of Rymir himself, but of what the truth could mean for Jay-Z's billion-dollar brand, his reputation, and his marriage. Beyoncé, who has long stood by him publicly, has reportedly grown increasingly fed up with his history of alleged infidelity. Fans remember the infamous elevator incident with Solange and the entire Lemonade album, which already hinted at cheating. But a secret love child with a teenage girl would be much more than just another marital issue. It would represent a scandal capable of destroying both their public image and their empire. Adding fuel to the fire, 50 Cent has made it a point to mock Jay-Z over the situation. Known for speaking his mind without filter, he has argued that Jay-Z's marriage to Beyoncé was never about love as much as it was about strategy. He suggested that Jay-Z's rise to hip-hop royalty, complete with Grammy wins and elevated status, coincided with his marriage. According to this narrative, Beyoncé became not just a partner, but the key to transforming Jay-Z into the image of a reformed businessman, family man, and cultural icon. If that marriage collapses, so does the carefully maintained facade. Despite setbacks in court, Rymir has remained determined. Even after withdrawing his most recent federal lawsuit, he clarified that this wasn't the end, but a calculated step. On Instagram Live, he insisted the fight was still very much alive, describing his strategy as chess, not checkers. For someone who has been pursuing this since 2015, he doesn't sound tired or defeated. He sounds like someone who's only gaining momentum. Jay-Z's legal team has countered aggressively, painting Rhaemir's efforts as nothing more than harassment. They emphasize that his lawsuits have been repeatedly dismissed and that he and his godmother, Lily, who has also been a caretaker for him, have ignored prior rulings. According to their framing, this is less about truth and more about dragging a powerful man's name through the mud for notoriety. But that framing hasn't silenced Rhaemir. For years, he has endured accusations that he's a liar, a scammer, or someone chasing clout. Yet through it all, his story hasn't changed. He continues to insist that his only demand is a fair opportunity to prove his claim. Part of what makes this situation hard to dismiss is the physical resemblance many people see between Jay-Z and Rhaemir. It's not just a matter of a shared nose or similar eyes, it's the whole facial structure, expressions, and demeanor. Even some people who have known Jay-Z personally have admitted that once you meet Rhaemir, the likeness is hard to ignore. Eskino, a rapper familiar with Jay-Z, said outright that he believed Rhaemir was his son. If that is indeed true, the implications stretch far beyond paternity. Since Wanda was a minor at the time, the relationship itself could be considered statutory, something Jay-Z's camp would be desperate to keep buried. Meanwhile, Beyoncé's position remains complicated. She has built a pristine public image over decades, every move calculated, every performance flawless, every detail curated to perfection. Her reputation has been one of untouchable excellence. But now, her name is being dragged into a story that threatens everything she has built. Some insiders claim she's been quietly distancing herself from Jay-Z, while others suggest she is still trying to maintain stability for the sake of their children and their shared empire. Either way, the brand is under threat. The larger cultural moment makes it even harder for Jay-Z to contain this. In the past, stories like this could be buried by tabloids or smoothed over with PR statements. Today, however, social media has taken control of the narrative. On TikTok, Instagram, and various podcasts, people are dissecting timelines, pulling up old interviews, and comparing photos of Jay-Z and Rhaemir side by side. The discussion isn't staying confined to celebrity gossip, it's bleeding into wider conversations about power, truth, and accountability. What makes Rhaemir stand out to many is his approach. He's not glamorous, not heavily polished by media professionals. He speaks directly through Instagram lives and personal videos. He comes across as raw and real, which resonates with everyday people who understand what it feels like to be dismissed or ignored. He has repeatedly said he doesn't want Jay-Z's money or fame. He isn't trying to ruin anyone's life. All he wants is the truth about where he comes from and acknowledgement of his story. But for Jay-Z, silence has been the only response. Not once has he directly addressed the allegations in an interview or issued a personal statement. His only responses come through legal filings carefully worded by lawyers. To many, that silence looks like avoidance. If the accusations were false, why not deny them outright and clear the air? That question keeps hanging in the background, fueling speculation that there is something worth hiding. For Rhaemir, the fight has cost him dearly. He has been in and out of courtrooms since his teenage years. He has invested money, lost time, and endured relentless doubt. His mother, Wanda, passed away during the battle. Still, he has refused to back down. He has filed complaints, spoken out about corruption, and gone further than most people would dare in calling out judges and attorneys for misconduct. Through it all, he has continued raising his own children, balancing the demands of his life while carrying the weight of this unresolved battle. Now, with the possibility of criminal charges and new filings, the case is shifting into even more serious territory. Rhaemir has made it clear that he's no longer fighting just for himself. He has framed his struggle as part of a larger issue of children abandoned or silenced because their truth threatens powerful figures. Whether or not Jay-Z is his father, the public conversation has already shifted. The damage to Jay-Z's carefully built legacy has already begun. At the heart of this, the issue is simple yet profound. One man wants to know where he comes from, while another, one of the most powerful figures in music, refuses to give him that answer. Jay-Z's silence may have been a strategy to protect his empire, but in today's climate, silence doesn't make accusations disappear, it makes them louder. And as the years go by, the weight of avoidance only grows heavier. Whether Jay-Z is the father or not, the story is now bigger than paternity. It's about power, accountability, legacy, and truth. And no matter how many lawyers, dismissals, or carefully crafted PR strategies are put in place, the truth always has a way of surfacing. When it does, it won't just change how people view Jay-Z, it may redefine the legacy he has worked his entire life to build.